welcome
Hey!
to I'm Reverend Rich. This is
Reverend Paul.
And we have special guest, Soni Cantrell-Smith. Help me, Paul.
Reverend Dr. Soni Cantrell, our spiritual leader for the Centers for Spiritual Living.
That's why we do it
Yay.
together. And she is the leader for the centers, the elected leader for the Centers for Spiritual Living. And we are so blessed to have her here today.
So honored, yes.
Oh, yes.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation.
Well,
thank you for saying yes for that.
Yeah. This show is only about prayer.
Affirmative prayer.
There we go, Paul. And Ernest Holmes. So what we're going to do right now is start it off with having, may I call
invocation.
You can call me Soni.
There we go. So, Soni, if you do a prayer for us, that'd be great.
You betcha. I'm going to drop down to that place, that space where I know that there is only one. And I like to put my hand over my heart when I pray, just to feel the physical energy of that which pulses through, in and through and as that one life, as me. So I know that this power and this presence that I know is the divine, as the universe, that which creates out of itself, never diminished by its creation. I know this as the one mind, the divine, the infinite wisdom and intelligence that is the eternality of all, the invisible made visible. And as I know this to be the truth of the one source, I know that indeed it is true of me. And as it is true of me, it is true of this show and all who view it, whether now or later, and all those involved in this particular show about prayer, one of my most favorite things to do. I know that it is the same clarity and infinite wisdom and intelligence. It is the same wholeness and power and oneness and joy that is the infinite, which pulsates not only through each one of us here today and all those who are listening to my voice. I know that it is simply that which is divine order. So I know that all unfolds today in that beauty, in that divine order that has already been ordered up by the one mind, by the one source of all. Knowing that the clarity we seek is already here, demonstrating itself through this show, hopefully with wisdom and infinite intelligence, and of course joy. How much we love joy and love. So it is with a grateful heart and perhaps a curious mind that I simply release this word into the perfect universal law, knowing that the law always responds with yes, 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 my beloved, yes. As we all stand in the power of the word and of the law, which I beautifully call grace. And we all say together, and so it is.
And so it is.
Wow, that was
beautiful.
powerful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So would you like to tell us a little bit about you?
You mean the stuff I can say on the air?
Yeah.
Well, truth be known, I am a bona fide hillbilly from Kentucky. I'm the elected spiritual leader for Centers for Spiritual Living. I also write monthly in the Science of Mind magazine. I've been entrenched in science of mind, philosophy, and teaching for many years since I would say I first came into it in 1990 in Huntington Beach, California, at the Huntington Beach Church of Religious Science, where the founding minister there was Dr. Peggy Bassett. So very powerful woman who was also from the South. I believe she was from either Arkansas or Oklahoma. But that's where I first entered Science of Mind, and I came to Science of Mind through Alcoholics Anonymous. I've been in 12-step for over 33 years.
Wow.
And when I was attending meetings in Huntington Beach, some of the individuals there were already going to the center in Huntington Beach and would tell me frequently, I think you would really love this place. And I said, I don't know about that. I abandoned God a long time ago, so I'm not sure. Or God abandoned me, whatever. And so one morning they finally talked me into it, and I went. And the first thing I heard was, whoever you are, wherever you are on your path of spiritual discovery, you are absolutely welcome here.
Mm.
And as soon as I heard those words, I burst into tears. And I get emotional about it still today, because for the first time in my life, I felt at home
Mm.
in a spiritual center. I grew up Southern Baptist, was always in trouble with my pastor, because I was always contradicting things that he would say, and he was always telling me I'm going to hell because I'm contradicting everything he's saying. So it took me a long time to really reconnect with my spiritual self and my spiritual center. And, so I practice Science of Mind every day of my life.
Mm. That's
And that's
perfect.
pretty much who I am, really. I'm just a mountain woman who was elected the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living, and am honored to represent our philosophy and our movement, because Centers for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind, is a movement.
Mm. And remember, you're not just, you are.
Yes.
Yes. That's the power in the words that we use and the feeling behind it.
Uh-huh, you bet.
So Sonny, how has prayer changed your life? How has there been a tangible result? Can you share that with us for our audience of how prayer has affected you?
Absolutely. I can talk about in the early 90s, actually. I was diagnosed with aplastic anemia, which is a form of leukemia. And it was an interesting time in my life, because I had just started coming to Huntington Beach Church, and I had this diagnosis, and I was going through a divorce.
Mm.
So there were a lot of things happening, and plus I had just, I'd gotten sober. So I used prayer, and I asked people to pray for me. I used a practitioner and a
Mm.
minister from the Huntington Beach Church, and I was really going for a cure. And there's a difference between healing and curing.
Mm.
We don't know what the healing's going to look like. So often we mistake healing and curing. As Dr. Holmes said, there's no healing to be done. It's only the revealing of the truth.
Mm.
And so I went and got prayer a lot. And I thought that the oncologist that I saw was telling me that I had to have a bone marrow transplant, and which in the early 90s had still not been perfected, really. So continuously going through this prayer for months, and I went to see my oncologist one morning, and when I came into his office, he pulled his chair over to me. He had one of those office chairs that had rollers on it, and
Mm.
he rolled over to me. He was from Croatia, and he was an interesting doctor. But he rolled his chair over to me, and he said, "I do not know what happened. I have no idea, but this has disappeared."
Wow.
It's
And
so
what were
good.
your thoughts on that?
my thoughts were, I need to do a whole lot more prayer. Because I fully believe that 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 prayer works. And I have to say that I grew up in an atmosphere with my mother, who was a physical healer,
Mm,
who kept two books by her bed bedstand and a nightstand, and one was the Bible, what Christians call the Old Testament, which is actually it's called the Bible, and the other book was the essays of Ralph Waldo Emerson.
mm,
So quite a juxtaposition there.
yeah.
But I learned the power of prayer when I was very young, and I didn't believe that I needed a building to do prayer. So being a musician and traveling all over the country as well, I was also a musician. I use prayer on my own terms.
Mm.
That makes sense.
I
Wow. Thank
like
you for
that.
sharing that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've
I,
done prayer for other people where, as a practitioner in the old days, you were required to have a demonstration of your work, of your prayers. And so I have had several demonstrations of individuals that I've worked with spiritual coaching and prayer that has really worked. So, yeah.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's nice to know that you are the manifestation of your prayer.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's powerful because it gives people that sense of prayer as well.
so on the day-to-day life of you, how do you stay grounded in prayer? I mean,
Mm.
do you just drop down into prayer? Do you stay in prayer constantly, like some of our others have been on the show have said, or do you just do it randomly whenever you feel that you need it?
Well, no, I actually have a daily practice. Being the spiritual leader, I've had to double down on those practices.
Mm.
But I, I, the area that I live in, I have a lot of nature, a lot of trees, and few parks, and it's a great neighborhood that I live in. I walk every day. I try to walk 5 miles a day, and
Mm.
while I'm walking, I'm praying. I do
Mm.
prayer as I walk, and that is really my sacred time to do prayer. I also meditate every morning. Just what am I to know today?
Mm.
I don't when I pray, when I'm walking and I pray, I mainly do prayer for my highest good, whatever that
Mm.
may be. And when I'm meditating, I go into meditation usually with what do I need to know today? And sometimes I do silent meditation, sometimes I use music, you know. And it's just an everyday occurrence. I try to read from my favorite Ernest Holmes book every day, which is this thing called You, that I
Mm.
love so much, and I've read it 100 times through the years. So that is, something that I love to do.
So the day prep you have down to a science. You said that you've increased how you're doing your daily prep. You want to
Yeah,
share any insights?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like, for example, reading the daily guides from Science of Mind
Mm.
magazine, reading this thing called You, doing prayer while I'm walking, doing meditation, setting concrete, if you will, intentions for the day. I have a lot of meetings throughout the day, and I travel a lot, and so a lot of times when I'm on the plane, I'm praying. I'm doing
Mm.
silent prayer, silent prayer. When I need prayer, we all need prayer. I mean, in my opinion, that's just my opinion. But what we have to think about is are the words that we use. And, just like
Mm.
Paul was talking about before, you're not just. Well, you're not just praying. Everything that you do, you're setting an intention for, whether you know it or not.
Mm.
And so my life is a prayer, but my intentional prayers are walking and reading and, even in the shower. Does that make sense?
Oh, completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ernest Holmes said we pray without ceasing, and that's what you're
Yes.
doing.
Yes.
Yep.
Hmm.
Like every moment
Absolutely.
we come back to prayer and we know it.
Hmm.
Yay, that's beautiful.
Hmm. You know, and I think that prayer is significant because it serves a way for people, for individuals to connect with something that they believe is greater than themselves, right?
Mm,
Whether that's God or the sacred, uh, or your higher power or your deepest values, right? Because prayer can give comfort and hope. Even if you're not a religious scientist or you're not practicing science of mind, but you're still doing prayer, there is no wrong prayer.
mm,
As long as it's prayer that you're using to advance your own self, or others for grace and goodness and, not to create or cause harm. And so I think that prayer gives our lives meaning, especially when it's a prayer of gratitude.
mm.
Because what you're grateful for expands and what you
Yes.
take for granted you lose, and most of us know that. So it's to me, daily prayer is an insurance policy,
I
Oh,
like
that's perfect.
right?
Yeah.
'Cause you're setting up your day, you're setting up your intention, you're setting up who you are. This is
Mm,
who I am. I'm one with the Holy Spirit. I'm one
mm,
as in through and as the one mind. And so knowing that really sets my day up. So it's an insurance policy. And if I just keep going back to that and, paying my insurance policy, then it's always there and it works. Everything that happens for me anyway, this is how I look at it. It is what it is. How do I want to respond to it?
mm.
Do I
so.
respond from fear or do I respond from love? Because it is what it is. If you're in the DMV line and you got 50 people in front of you, it is what it is. You're not going to be able to change that line, right? But you can change your attitude.
Right. And
Who
when we're in
you
that
want
line,
to
it's a
be.
good opportunity to pray.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the line goes
Exactly.
quicker.
Yeah. Well, yeah, hopefully.
Now, we say in the science of mind that the law responds to our thoughts and feelings. So, what are your feelings? What do they feel like when you're in prayer? What comes up for you?
Well, let me just add to that it responds to our thoughts and feelings and what we focus on,
Mm,
because we have thousands of thoughts a day, right? So it's really about what we focus on. That's why it's important that when we do pray, that if there is something that we are looking for or something that we want to improve our lives, that we can't just go la 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 and pray and it's going to happen. We have to really focus on it and do the
mm.
work. Like I can pray all day long to be an NBA star, but it's not going to happen. You understand what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Right. So it's really about what we focus on. And many times when I'm praying, to get back to prayer or meditating, it's not about seeking a feeling. It's about letting go of any anticipation or expectation and just simply standing
Mm,
in the power of the truth. Period. When I say, um, let me know what I need to know today. I surrender my knowing. Let me know what I
mm,
need to know today. Who am I today? Who do I need to be? I For me, the moment that I believe I have all the answers, I'm not asking the right question.
Mhm.
oh, perfect.
Well, you covered we usually have a question on what triggers prayer in your life. I think you did it. The DMV line covers that.
Yeah, really.
And so many people have learned different steps in prayer. There's a 3-step, a 5-step, a 7-step.
Hmm.
Are there
Hmm.
a step that resonates with you?
Well, I think that the first two steps, I use five-step prayer, uh, which for viewers who are tuning in, we have this crazy thing called spiritual mind treatment, which sounds so woo. Um, but it's really affirmative prayer, and I
Right.
have a five-step prayer. So the the first two steps for me um, are my conscious contact
Mm,
with
Mm.
my higher power. I think that we're all, I don't think, I know that we're all energy.
mm,
And so for me, many times if I'm visualizing or feeling something within that prayer, especially with the first two steps, I see light and I see energy a lot.
mm,
And I see myself connected to that energy. And so the first two steps are what gets me there. If I can't get there with those first two steps, I need to do them again.
mm.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's a great visual too.
It
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
What gets you out of doubt? Do you ever have doubt about the prayer? I mean, you just if you have doubt about it, you said that you basically, if you're doing the first two parts of the prayer, you redo them. If you have any doubt, then that's what you're saying.
If if I have any doubt, then I'll pray for the doubt.
Mm.
I like that.
And so when you're doing the prayer, when do you personally release the prayer?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
So I do the 5 steps as well, sometimes 7, depending on my thing. And then when I declare it, I'm grateful for it. And then I know beyond a doubt that this prayer is there and I release it into the law. Is
Hmm.
there some mechanism or a feeling that you get that you are centered and perfect with what you're praying for?
Absolutely, yeah. And I never use the word doubt in my prayers. Um, I I release into the law.
Mm,
I release into the law, knowing that the law always says yes, because
yes.
the law always does. The law always says yes to us. The question becomes, when do you say yes to the law?
Ooh,
Mm,
like that.
that's good.
Quotable moment there.
It's a little takeaway, yes.
Yes.
Well, often there are things that show up in our lives over and over and over again. You know, uh, I mean, even when it gets to a cosmic two by four across the head, and we still deny it, and yet the universe is trying to, we're praying for something, but see, we don't have to know how it comes, but
Mm,
we have to stand in the power knowing that it will. And so sometimes we get in our own way because we have an idea of what it's supposed to look like, right?
mm,
And the universe has a different idea. So it shows up and we deny it because it didn't look like the way we wanted it to be. So that's what I mean by, the law always says yes, but when do we say yes to the law?
mm.
I like that.
Yeah, I get that
Yeah.
question a lot where people ask, how's this going to happen? I'm like, you don't have to worry about the how. You just have to know what's going to
Exactly.
happen. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
that's perfect.
Or get out of its way. I think Gerard said.
Yeah, get your bloated nothingness out of the way.
Bloated
Yeah,
nothingness out of the way.
right.
Uh, you talked about evolving prayers and stuff from when you first came over to the Huntington
Mm.
Beach Church, which I went to the Huntington Beach Church when I was in high school for
Oh,
a little bit.
cool.
So that was the '80s. I'm dating myself here, but that's okay. I didn't go that often because I was like, man, I don't want to go. But you went there, and that's interesting. But you said that your prayers have evolved to a point where you've slowly figured out the best way to do those prayers, or how have they evolved during the time that you've been doing them? I mean, you have right now. Do you have a one-liner prayer that you do? God is, I am, or something like that, or
I am the I am. I use
Mm.
that a lot. I am the I am. But prayer, there's two types of prayer for me. There's the prayer I do out loud,
Mm.
and there's the prayer I do inside. And both of them work. Do you understand what I mean? And
Exactly.
sometimes, Yeah, sometimes the prayer inside can be deeper than the prayer I say outside or out loud. When I'm praying for someone, of course I'm saying that prayer out loud. But there's a point, this has happened to me anyway. There's a point where I have thought a prayer, silently done a prayer, but not a 5-step prayer or anything. I've just stated the truth. And it's manifested.
One in consciousness is a majority.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if we really understood the power that we wield, I mean, really think about it, how powerful our prayers are. If we're really connected to the universe in and through and as with our energy and our light, we're extraordinary beings. And I think that we forget that. There's a lot going on in the world right now. And I'm not talking about spiritual bypassing. I'm talking about, because the thing is, I can hold the reality of what is going on in the world right now in one hand, and in the other hand, the spiritual truth, because I'm a spiritual realist. I would never deny the condition. I only deny the condition in prayer. That's when I turn away from it. Only in prayer. Dr. Holmes said that we never deny what's happening. We can't close our eyes to what's happening in front of us, but we can deny it in prayer, and that's when we should do it. So I can be steeped in prayer silently and see things manifest. And I think that for all of us, we need to do that on an everyday basis. The juxtaposition that's happening right now in the world for me is we're seeing all these Buddhist monks walking for peace, thousands of miles walking for peace. And then you see our government doing things that are not so loving. You see what I'm saying? So there's this, here's the way, here's the power over here with these monks that are walking. And yet over here, they think they have the power. Does that make sense?
Right. They think that's the key.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're at the 3-minute mark.
Okay.
So we're going to shotgun a couple of questions and then let you do a closing response and plug what you like. And then we'll go from there and we'll say goodbye to our audience. But the questions that we have right now, I think you said your favorite Ernest Holmes book already. Is there another one? Or is that just the favorite?
I love to go on the archives and listen to his radio addresses, because the Science of Mind book that we use a lot as a textbook is really people who have written down his lectures. But if you go to the archives and you listen to his radio addresses, that's fascinating, because the words are coming right out of his mouth. Like, I never knew that Dr. Holmes said democracy is a spiritual idea. Right? I mean, that just blew my mind. And so I don't think it's a book. I think it's his radio addresses that I love to listen to.
Yeah, he has said more in the radio shows than he does in his books. You're right.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. The quote, what's your favorite Ernest Holmes quote that you could give us?
I think it's the quote that you only turn away from condition in prayer. I love that, because to me it's solid and it's grounded.
It is. Yeah, the key to everything.
Yeah.
And how would you explain our philosophy to one of our viewers who doesn't know about our philosophy?
It's a marriage between philosophy, science, and spirituality. We believe in oneness. It's one of our tenets. It's one of our values. and principles. We are not connected to any religion, and we're connected to all of them.
Mm.
So you bring who you are, your authentic self, no matter who you are, wherever you are on your spiritual path of discovery, and you are welcome here because we have tools that will help you improve your life.
Mm.
And if you want to know more about those tools, go to #CSL.org.
That's perfect.
That is wonderful, and of course you write that column every single month inside the Science of Mind magazine, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is just wonderful. So, is there anything else that you would like our audience to know before we go?
That you're amazing and beautiful and wonderful.
Well,
And so it is.
so it is. I'm Reverend Rich. I am a licensed CSL practitioner. And this is Reverend.
Reverend Paul, I'm at IamSpiritAlive.com.
And we are Prayers Radio. And
And
we
Soni,
again think,
can you
go
pray
ahead.
us out?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
So this will be a shorter prayer. This is just a prayer. This is not just but this is a prayer of gratitude. I am so grateful for the time that we have spent together, knowing that it has unfolded perfectly, magnificently, and beautifully, because God is in charge, not me, not Paul, and not Rich. But we're all here together to celebrate and know and stand in the power of prayer, to stand in the power of the words of Science of Mind, the philosophy of Science of Mind, and the love that we connect in, through, and as it. So grateful for today. So grateful for everyone who is tuning in and those who will listen later. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you. An honor to be with you. Thank you so
Honored
much.
to be with you all.
Yay.
Y'all take
So
care.
Okay,
we all
thank you.
say
Big hug.
bye.
Bye.